Look at you, still breathing, still standing, still here after everything tried to erase you. You thought you were just getting guidance, just receiving advice, just learning how to survive this brutal existence, didn't you? But no, no, no. Something far older, far more ruthless, far more precise than coaching picked you out of the crowd, marked you with its fingerprint, and whispered one sentence into your soul that changed everything. You're mine now. And whatever claimed you, whatever staked its territory in your chest, whatever branded you with that invisible crown, it has never, not once, not ever in the history of existence, taken a loss. Let that sink in while the weak ones keep scrolling, because if you're still here, if you're still watching, it means you felt it too. That shift, that knowing, that terrifying, beautiful, undeniable truth that you were never meant to just survive. You were selected to dominate, and the force that chose you doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise, doesn't retreat, and sure as hell doesn't lose. You know what's funny, tragic, and poetic all at once? Most people think they're in control of their destiny, that they woke up one day and decided to become great, that they chose the path of discipline and power. But you know different because you didn't choose this life chose you. You didn't wake up craving the fire woke you up by burning through every false identity you tried to hide behind. You didn't ask for the pressure, the isolation, the betrayals that carved out your insides and left you hollow enough to be filled with something eternal. No, you were drafted, conscripted, pulled into a war you didn't even know was happening until you realized everyone around you was still asleep while you were bleeding awake. And here's the kicker. The thing that chose you didn't pick you because you were strong. It picked you because you were breakable enough to be rebuilt, raw enough to be reshaped, empty enough to be inhabited by a power that doesn't fit inside ordinary people. They looked at you and saw potential, saw talent, saw someone who could be molded with a little coaching, a little mentorship, a little guidance from people who claim they've walked the path before. And sure, you listened, you absorbed, you applied every piece of advice like it was scripture, didn't you? But deep down, beneath the notes and the strategies and the motivational quotes, something else was happening. Something ancient was watching you stumble through the lessons, watching you fail and rise and fail again, and it wasn't impressed by your effort. It was testing your capacity. Not your capacity to succeed, but your capacity to endure the kind of transformation that kills weaker souls. Because coaching teaches you how to play the game, but what chose you doesn't care about games. It cares about domination, about legacy, about turning you into a force so undeniable that reality itself has to bend when you walk into a room. And you felt it, didn't you? That moment when the lessons stopped being external and started becoming internal, when the advice stopped coming from voices outside and started echoing from a place so deep inside you that it didn't even sound like your own thoughts anymore. Let's talk about the others for a second. The ones who got the same coaching, attended the same seminars, read the same books, followed the same blueprint. Where are they now? Still posting motivational quotes while their lives crumble in private. Still talking about consistency while skipping the hard days. Still pretending they're on the path while making excuses for why they haven't moved an inch in 3 years. And you know why? Because they got coaching. That's it. Just coaching, information, strategies, techniques. But they were never chosen, never marked, never possessed by the thing that refuses to let you quit, even when quitting would feel like mercy. You see, coaching can improve you, but it can't transform you. Coaching can sharpen your skills, but it can't forge your spirit in the furnace of pure suffering until you come out forged in something indestructible. Coaching gives you tools, but what chose you gave you a mandate. Either become unbreakable or be destroyed trying. And here you are, unbroken, undefeated, unstoppable. Not because you followed the steps, but because something inside you won't let you lose. The moment it chose you, everything changed. People started treating you differently without knowing why. Opportunities appeared out of nowhere, not because you were lucky, but because luck is what weak people call alignment. Obstacles that would have crushed you 3 years ago now barely slow you down, not because they got easier, but because you got denser, heavier, harder to move. You stopped needing validation because the thing inside you validates itself through your existence. You stopped fearing rejection because rejection is just reality protecting itself from what's coming. You stopped explaining yourself because explanations are for people who need permission. And you stopped asking for permission the day you were claimed. And the wildest part? You can't even remember the exact moment it happened. Was it during that breakdown at 3 a.m. when you begged for it to stop? Was it the day you lost everything and realized you were still standing? Was it the betrayal that should have destroyed you but instead stripped away every fake layer until only the core remained? You don't know, but it knows, and it's been running your life ever since. Here's what they don't tell you about being chosen. It's not a blessing. Not at first. At first, it's a curse, disguised as chaos. It isolates you from everyone who used to understand you because they can't recognize what you're becoming. It destroys your old life, your old relationships, your old identity, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity, because where you're going, those things can't follow. It puts you through tests that coaching could never prepare you for, tests that don't come with study guides or practice exams, tests where the only way to pass is to die and be reborn in the same body. And you passed every single one. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but you passed. Because failure wasn't an option. Not because you're disciplined, but because the thing that chose you doesn't fail. It doesn't know how. It's never learned. In its entire existence across time, across dimensions, across every soul it's ever inhabited, it has never taken a loss, and now it lives in you. Feel that weight yet? Feel that responsibility? Feel that terrifying, exhilarating, suffocating realization that you can't lose because you're not fighting alone anymore? They tried to coach you. They gave you frameworks, systems, morning routines, goal-setting strategies, productivity hacks. And sure, you used them. You implemented them. You got results. But let's be honest, those results weren't because of the coaching. They were because something inside you took those tools and weaponized them in ways the coaches never imagined. You didn't just apply the lessons. You absorbed them, mutated them, combined them with something primal that no seminar could teach. You turned advice into instinct, strategies into reflexes, knowledge into power. And that's the difference between someone who got coached and someone who got chosen. Coached people need reminders. Chosen people are the reminder. Coached people need accountability. Chosen people hold themselves to standards that would break their coaches. Coached people celebrate small wins. Chosen people don't celebrate until the entire war is won, and even then, they're already planning the next conquest. You're not better than them because you're smarter or more talented. You're different because you're occupied by something that refuses to settle for anything less than total victory. Let me tell you what happens when you're chosen by something undefeated. First, you stop losing to yourself. The procrastination, the self-doubt, the internal negotiations about whether you really need to do the hard thing today, all of that dies. Not because you develop willpower, but because the thing inside you doesn't recognize those concepts as valid. It doesn't understand hesitation. It doesn't comprehend quitting. It moves forward because forward is the only direction it knows. Second, you stop losing to other people. The manipulators, the energy vampires, the fake friends who smile while they plot. They all start disappearing from your life. Not because you cut them off, but because they can't stand being near you anymore. Your presence makes them uncomfortable, makes them feel exposed, makes them confront the emptiness they've been running from. They leave on their own, whispering about how you've changed, how you're not the same person, how you're cold now. And they're right. You're not the same. You're colder, sharper, clearer, because what chose you burned away everything soft enough to be broken. Third, you stop losing to circumstances. The economy crashes, you adapt. People betray you, you evolve. Life hits you with chaos, you absorb it and use it as fuel. Because here's the secret they'll never teach you in coaching. Circumstances are just the environment, and environments don't defeat apex predators. They shape them into more efficient killers. You don't overcome obstacles anymore, you consume them. You don't survive storms, you become the storm. Every setback, every betrayal, every moment that should have broken you just adds another layer to the armor you didn't even know you were building. And now, you're walking through life like it's a simulation designed to test you, and you're passing every test without even studying because the answers are written in your bones. Fourth, you stop losing to time. Most people waste decades chasing goals that don't matter, climbing ladders that lead nowhere, building lives that collapse the moment pressure arrives. But you've been accelerated. Every year of your journey counts as 5 for normal people because you're not living on their timeline anymore. You're on the timeline of the thing that chose you, and it operates in eternities, not quarters. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about your legacy, your impact, the mark you'll leave on reality itself. And here's where it gets truly insane. You can't unchoose yourself. You can't go back to being normal. You can't unlearn what you know, unsee what you've seen, unfeel what you've felt. The door closed behind you the moment you were marked, and there's no key, no exit, no escape hatch. You're in this until the end, until you've fulfilled whatever purpose you were selected for, until you've become the fullest expression of the power that lives inside you. And yeah, that's terrifying. Because it means you can't coast, you can't settle, you can't retire into mediocrity and comfort. The thing inside you won't allow it. It will sabotage every attempt you make to be average, to blend in, to disappear into a quiet life. It will burn down your comfort zones, destroy your safety nets, push you into situations that force you to grow even when you're begging to stay small, because it didn't choose you to be comfortable. It chose you to be legendary. And legends don't get to rest until the story is complete. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the loneliness. Because yeah, being chosen means being alone in ways that coaching never prepared you for. You can't relate to most people anymore because they're still playing checkers while you're 3 moves deep into interdimensional chess. Their problems sound trivial, their dreams sound small, their fears sound like excuses. And you don't say this to be arrogant or superior, you just can't unsee the gap between where you are and where they are. You tried to bring people with you, didn't you? You shared what you learned, offered to help them level up, extended your hand to pull them into the arena with you. And what happened? They flinched. They made excuses. They smiled and nodded and went right back to their comfortable suffering. Because here's the truth. Most people don't want to be saved. They want to be comfortable. They want to complain about their problems while doing nothing to solve them. They want to admire greatness from a distance while never taking the steps to embody it themselves. And you can't force someone to be chosen. It doesn't work like that. The selection process is beyond your control, beyond their control, beyond anyone's control. Either they have it or they don't. Either they were marked or they weren't. And you can spot the difference instantly now, can't you? One conversation and you know. One look in their eyes and you see it. The presence or absence of that thing, that fire, that refusal to break. So you walk alone. Not because you want to, but because the path you're on doesn't have crowds. It has a few scattered warriors, separated by miles and years and trials, each one carrying their own version of the undefeated force. And when you meet them, when you lock eyes with someone else who was chosen, there's no need for words. You recognize each other the way soldiers recognize soldiers, the way survivors recognize survivors. A nod is enough. A glance says everything. Because you both know what it cost to get here. You both know what you had to sacrifice, who you had to leave behind, what you had to become. And there's a respect in that silence, a kinship that goes deeper than friendship, deeper than loyalty, deeper than blood, because you're not just connected by shared experience. You're connected by shared possession. The same force that lives in you lives in them. And when forces like that recognize each other, reality holds its breath. But here's where most people get it twisted. They think being chosen means you're special in the sense of being better than others. No. Being chosen means you're special in the sense of being selected for a specific function. You're not superior. You're assigned. You're not blessed. You're deployed. The thing that chose you didn't do it to make you feel good about yourself. It did it because it needs you to accomplish something that requires the exact combination of your scars, your strengths, your madness, and your capacity to endure. You're a weapon, a tool, a vessel. And the moment you start thinking you're chosen because you're inherently deserving, the moment you start getting arrogant about it, that's when you lose the plot. Because humility isn't optional when you're carrying something this powerful. Gratitude isn't optional. Service isn't optional. You were given this for a reason, and that reason has nothing to do with your ego and everything to do with your purpose. So you stay humble, you stay hungry, you stay focused. Not because you're trying to be a good person, but because the alternative is becoming the villain in your own story. Let's talk about the undefeated part. What does it mean that the thing inside you has never lost? It means every battle it's ever entered, it's won. Every soul it's ever inhabited, it's elevated. Every impossible situation it's ever faced, it's transformed into a victory so complete that the opponents still don't understand what happened. And now that legacy lives in you. Every time you wake up and choose to keep going, that's the undefeated force operating through you. Every time you face something that should destroy you and come out stronger, that's not you being resilient. That's the thing inside you doing what it's always done, refusing to break. Every time you turn pain into power, betrayal into fuel, loss into lessons, you're not being inspirational. You're being consistent with the nature of what chose you. Because it doesn't know how to lose. It doesn't have that programming. Defeat is not in its vocabulary. Surrender is not in its code. Failure is not in its operating system. And as long as you stay aligned with it, as long as you don't fight against it, as long as you surrender to being the vessel it needs you to be, you inherit that same invincibility. But alignment is the key. Because you can still lose if you fight against what chose you. You can still fail if you resist the transformation it's trying to complete in you. You can still fall if you cling to the old version of yourself that needs to die for the new one to be born. And oh, you've felt that resistance, haven't you? Those moments when you want to go back to being normal, to being soft, to being the person people liked before you became too intense, too focused, too real. Those moments when you think about quitting, about settling, about accepting a life of quiet comfort instead of loud conquest. And every single time you feel that pull, the thing inside you tightens its grip. It reminds you who you are. It shows you glimpses of what you're becoming. It whispers the same sentence it whispered the day it chose you. You're mine now, and we don't lose. And you snap back, you realign, you remember. Because going back isn't an option. The only way out is through. The only direction is forward. The only acceptable outcome is total victory. Here's what nobody tells you. Being chosen isn't about destiny in the way you think. It's not some grand cosmic plan where everything works out perfectly and you live happily ever after. No. Being chosen means you're given the capacity to endure what would destroy